All right, picture this. A tiny, microscopic robot, way smaller than even one of your own cells, cruising through the superhighway of your bloodstream. Its mission? To hunt down a tumor, maybe patch up some damaged tissue. I know, it sounds like something straight out of a blockbuster sci-fi movie, right? Well, today we're gonna dive deep into the reality of that fiction.
So is this whole idea just a cool concept for Hollywood, or are we looking at the actual future of medicine? Let's, just get right to the answer. Because yeah, it is happening. These are not just ideas scribbled on a whiteboard somewhere. They are real, honest-to-goodness experimental technologies being built and tested in labs right now. Now, don't get me wrong, they're not in your local hospital just yet, but the groundwork is absolutely being laid for a medical revolution. So, to really get a grip on where we're going, we first need to understand what these little machines are really made of.
So, what exactly is a nanobot? I mean, how do you even begin to build a robot that's a billionth of a meter in size? Let's pop the hood and see what makes these things tick.
Okay, so at its core, a nanobot is a machine that's designed to operate on a cellular level. You should think of it like a microscopic medic, one that's capable of sensing its environment and directly interacting with your body's most basic building blocks. This is precision engineering on a scale that is just unbelievable. To put it in perspective, we are talking about a machine that's about the width of your DNA. That's the level we're operating on here.
You obviously can't just use nuts and bolts. Scientists are using some really clever materials chosen specifically for their unique properties inside the human body. You've got biocompatible polymers, so they can squeeze through tiny capillaries without causing any damage. Then you've got metals like gold or iron oxide, which are inert, but, and this is the cool part, they respond to external magnetic fields. This essentially lets doctors drive them from outside the body. And then you have biohybrid parts. That's right, some designs literally borrow the tiny whip-like tail from bacteria to create a natural motor. Wild, right?
And just like any full-size robot, they have functional parts. The easiest way to think about it is like a tiny delivery drone. It's got sensors that act as a GPS, actuators that are the motors, and a drug delivery module as its cargo bay. But the real mind-bender here is the control unit, the tiny brain. And get this, sometimes it's not a silicon chip, it's made of DNA. Scientists can actually program strands of DNA to react to certain chemical signals, creating a biological computer that can make decisions on its own. It's literally using the building blocks of life itself as a processor. How cool is that?
So, how in the world do you power something so small? I mean, there's no room for a battery pack. Researchers are getting incredibly creative here. Some are powered externally by things like magnets or ultrasound. Others actually run on chemical reactions inside the body itself. But what's really important on this slide is that last point, the challenge. Energy is the Achilles heel of nanobots. It's like having this phenomenal piece of technology that can only stay on for a very, very short time. Solving this power problem is honestly one of the biggest keys to unlocking their full potential.
All right, enough theory. Let's talk about where this technology is today. We're moving from the drawing board into actual functioning prototypes that are being tested as we speak.
This technology definitely didn't just appear overnight. It's been a slow burn for over 60 years. The brilliant physicist Richard Feynman first planted the seed way back in 1959 with this wild idea of building things atom by atom. Then in the 80s, K. Eric Drexler essentially drew the first blueprints for these molecular machines. And ever since, we've seen this steady march from pure theory to simple lab tests and now to the complex animal trials happening today. The famous futurist Ray Kurzweil even thinks we're only about a decade away from seeing them in advanced human therapies.
And this is where that theory becomes cold, hard reality. Just think about what these two examples from top-tier institutions show us. At the University of Edinburgh, they proved precision. They used magnets to steer a nanobot through the bloodstream to a very specific, very delicate target, a brain aneurysm in a rat. That's incredible. Meanwhile, over at the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore, they're proving scale. They're figuring out how to control entire swarms of these bots so they can work together on a task. So we have precision, and we're developing coordination. This isn't science fiction. This is happening right now.
So, if that's what's happening today, what does the future look like? I mean, if scientists can actually overcome all those big challenges, what could this tiny tech really do for us?
The potential here is absolutely staggering.
We're not just talking about better drugs, we're talking about a fundamental shift in how we think about health. Instead of, waiting until you're sick and then treating the symptoms, this is about having a microscopic defense system inside you 24/7. It's a huge shift from reactive medicine to truly proactive medicine, stopping diseases before they can even get a foothold.
But, okay, let's just pump the brakes for a second. As exciting as all of that sounds, we have to remember that most of these revolutionary applications are still on the horizon. We're definitely on the right path, but it's a long one.
And that brings us to a really crucial point. We have to separate the very real, very exciting science from the completely over-the-top Hollywood hype.
Yeah, sorry to break it to you, but nanobots are not going to give you superpowers or make you immortal. The scientific reality is way less about becoming a superhero and a lot more about being an incredibly precise, microscopic surgeon. Think back to that Edinburgh experiment. It wasn't about whole-body enhancement. It was targeted therapy for one specific aneurysm. It's about fixing what's broken, not granting invincibility.
And the reason for this big gap between the hype and the reality really comes down to these 5 massive challenges. Navigating the chaotic, rushing maze of the human body is incredibly hard. We already talked about the energy problem. Then there's biocompatibility. You have to design these bots so your own immune system doesn't see them as invaders and attack them. All of this has to be packed into a tiny little chassis, and then you have to figure out how to mass-produce billions of them perfectly. It's a monumental engineering task, to say the least.
Now, beyond all those technical hurdles, there's another equally important conversation we absolutely need to have. As we get closer and closer to making this technology a reality, we have to confront some pretty profound ethical questions.
And these aren't just steps you take one after the other. They are massive, overlapping questions that we have to answer now, before the tech becomes widespread. I mean, think about it. If a nanobot can monitor your cells, who owns that data? Your doctor? Your insurance company? Will these incredibly expensive therapies create a new divide between the rich and the healthy and everyone else? And maybe the most critical question of all, when a machine is making decisions inside your body, who is ultimately in control? These are huge questions that science can't answer alone.
When you really step back and look at the whole picture, nanobots are this incredible fusion of disciplines. They require the precision of an engineer, the insight of a chemist, and the deep, deep understanding of a biologist, all working together to create something completely new.
The potential to fundamentally change medicine is, well, it's extraordinary. The journey from the lab to your bloodstream is going to be a long one, but it is happening. So the ultimate question really isn't just, can we build these microscopic doctors? It's, as we prepare to release autonomous machines into the most intimate environment imaginable, our own bodies, are we truly ready for what comes next?